tissue level of organization. Am I recording? Let's go back here. Yep, I am. So we're going to move ahead and we're going to go to the tissue level of organization. So there's four types of tissues. Skin are linings of blood vessels, linings of the lung, connective tissue like cartilage, muscular tissue like the biceps and the triceps and the rectus abdominis and those muscles that we'll get into, and nerves. Tissues put cells together to form a common function. And there are four tissue types. We just talked about that. So you take cells that secrete and regulate the extracellular materials around the cells. We'll point out extracellular materials and fluids in a moment. So you put cells together with extracellular materials and fluids. You get tissues. Combined tissues, you get organs. Combined organs, you get organ systems. So you have the heart as part of the circulatory system. So you have, that would be an organ system that contains neural tissue, muscle tissue, connective tissue, and epithelial tissue. So these four tissues would make up blood vessels, the lining of blood vessels, the lining of the heart, the smooth muscles, and arteries, and so on. So all of these tissues put together will give you an organ system. Epithelium is avascular, doesn't have any blood supply. Glands are derived from epithelia. What are the characteristics of epithelial tissue? Cells are closely packed. Apical cells are exposed. For instance, in the gut, the apical part of the cell is what is exposed to the cavity or the lumen of the gut. The lumen of the gut is the open part of the tube that food flows through to get digested. Okay, there'll be a basement membrane, no blood vessels, and cells are constantly replaced. So what does epithelial do? Protects, controls what comes into your digestive system that gets through the epithelium. It can sense differences in pH and concentration of substances, and it can secrete mucus, secrete sweat. So exocrine glands are sweat glands. That's the primary example. Endocrine glands secrete hormones, which we'll talk about coming up. So if epithelial tissues are packed together, there's got to be sticky molecules and junctions. So I want you to know about tight junctions and gap junctions. So we look here. You should know that a gap junction is an electrical synapse. These are present in the heart, and they allow electrical current to flow through the gap junctions. Just know about a tight junction. Well, that's how cells are going to be sealed. They're going to be very tightly joined at the junction. Don't worry about these right here. So I know about a gap junction and a tight junction. So what are microvilli and what are cilia? If you look at the digestive system, You can have cilia in some parts of it, or you can have cilia in the respiratory system that moves fluid and moves substances uh, to expel dirt, for instance. And the microvilli allow the absorption by increasing surface area. So abundant, increased surface area found in the intestinal lining and the kidney tubules. Cilia, beaded in coordinated fashion, move surface, and they're found in the respiratory system and the reproductive system. In the respiratory system, they move substances usually to be expelled away from your lungs into your pharynx so that you can expel it. The oviduct moves, the cilia move the eggs along when females are going through the menstrual cycle. Okay, the basement membrane, it's non-cellular, it's an all epithelial, it helps resist passage of large molecule and it strengthens against distortion. Epithelial renewal, cells are constantly growing. You know that your skin cells are constantly rubbing off and dying and to make you waterproof. Epithelial stem cells undergo mitosis uh, and they grow from the base. So the lining of your skin, the lining of your gut, those are two major places where cells are constantly growing and dividing to keep the supply of cells so that the lining of the gut can not leak. And there's a lot of talk lately about leaky gut syndrome. Excuse me. I'm not sure if that's a real disease condition. Okay, let's stop there. Let's go back here. Let's stop recording. Stop recording.